Like design's really tricky. Like design is actually quite difficult. And the problem is with design is that designing menswear anyway, it's like you've only got these finite shapes. You always run into like copying stuff, unfortunately. So there are rules about copying. How much do you copy without things becoming like an original design? Virgil Abloh, like very famous designer, had this 3% rule. This is probably really misinterpreted, but he thought that if you changed like an iconic design, but you only have to change it by 3%, then you could change the context of how people see it. And then by changing 3%, you change the entire design. Right? That's like a golden rule. But people, I think, have used it as an excuse to just change the bare minimum about things and then call it their own design. Right? So my rule is that you only copy 3%. And by copying 3%, you have to make up the 97%. So, you know, I think it's a kinder way to rip someone off. Look out for really. So, like vintage stuff really helps you recognize things that you might like to incorporate into your new design. But which 3% do you copy, right? That's like the biggest question. So this is a Carhartt Detroit jacket. Right now, probably what they're most known for because they've redone this old silhouette again and again and again. But this is from the 1970s, I believe. And I found this in a vintage shop in Japan. And it's been thrashed. Like you can take a look at it. Like there's oil stains. It's been repaired because there have been holes, the front, back, near the zipper. And the lining itself has been removed at least once. So when it comes down to stuff like this, you can buy it and go like, okay, I can literally draw it out, trace it out, and completely copy the silhouette. Or you could analyze the fabric and figure out, oh, how do I make this duck canvas? Bring it to a factory and go like, I want this exact duck canvas. You can do that, but that's not the most interesting 3%, right? The most interesting 3% is everything else. This is how a jacket ages. This is from 1970s. It's 2025, right? So in 55 years of being in circulation, so first thing you think about is color. If you take a look at this polyester lining here in the zip, that's really brown compared to that. But they were exactly the same color. This was developed to match the body color, but you can tell that it's faded with UV exposure, with abrasion. You'll notice it's a little bit darker down below, very light through here, and very light through here. That's 55 years of aging. You can tell that it's failed towards high use areas, and that's like undoubtedly when you're putting stuff in the pocket, like little like screwdrivers, pens, that stabs you in that corner, and that explains this. High use areas like around the cuff because you're always using your hand. Like if I was to guess, probably a right-handed person because of the more amount of wear on the right side. Like if you take a look at the lining here, that's been done by hand. Like that's not a machine stitch. And why is everything else a machine stitch and why is this a hand stitch? It's because the lining has been removed. And why has it been removed? It's because they were trying to sew this back on. They were trying to reinforce this without going through the lining. But you can tell that they didn't bother to do that here. They've gone through the lining and the body as well. Probably removing the lining was such a pain in the ass that they decided not to do it, you know, subsequently. In jackets that we're developing, just to create this idea of when something is too perfect, it's a bit awkward if you put it on. Like you feel like you're interrupting something perfect and something symmetrical and something that's beautiful with your like inherent human dirtiness. But when you put something that's distressed or a little bit faded, it becomes more comfortable, it becomes more approachable as a garment to wear, which is, I think, the philosophy behind distressing in the first place. Complete distressing wears that are giant holes and things that are not wearable probably go too far into that comfort concept, but a little bit along the hem, and a realistic wear pattern is probably where my head's at the moment. This is actually kind of a good example of that. So if you want to steal something, it's like, let's steal the most compelling 3% of it. So if you take a look at this buckle at the back here, like a lot of our sort of vintage inspiration isn't necessarily from stuff that we buy but also stuff that we kind of research and take a look at in books. Like this book is called Vintage Workwear by Lightning Archives, and it's from a private collection of collectors in Japan. And one of the things that we used in our work pants is this buckle at the back. And we took that to our pattern maker to go like, oh, can we do that? You can see how that bunches up at the back. And that's like classic workwear. Like workwear was like super expensive. Like it's something that you buy high quality stuff and you use it for more than one season because you're going to work in it all day, every day. And as you were working, you would change sizes, right? You would work and you would lose weight or you would gain weight. So you needed some sort of built-in modularity. You can't buy multiple pairs of trousers because they're so expensive. So we took that idea with our fingerprint denim jeans. The fabric is stretchy, so it's probably not the best use of the buckle, but wanted to give those ideas of workwear into this jean. So we're currently working on our own workwear pants, and they're sort of classic shapes, right? There's cargo pants, there's military fatigues, and then there are workwear pants. So like this is a carpenter pant from Carhartt, again, secondhand from eBay. Sort of classic workwear details I'll show you. So this is one row of stitching here. You can see that, pretty uniform, one row of stitching. Double stitch, triple stitch. When you see that, you would probably be encountering a workwear garment because it needs to be foolproof. These things are hard wearing, expensive, and you'd wear them all day, every day. So triple stitch all along that side seam. Extra functionality with something like a carpenter pant would be these side pockets. The other side of it is for other tools. You know, you put a paintbrush in there, or you could put other tools in there. Like that is a working man's pant, right? You don't want to carry stuff in your hands. You don't want to carry stuff in a bag that can go around. This is on your person. So you can obviously do your own Carhartt pant, right? And you could copy this down to the centimeter, and then you have your own worker pant. But why would you do that, right? Carhartt has been around, again, another company that's been around for like 100+ years, great reputation, great consistency. How do you compete? So as a designer, you're thinking like, okay, I want to steal the interesting things about this. Like what are the interesting, compelling bits? Okay, so maybe it's ideas about function. Like where can you put pockets that talk to a 2025 idea of functionality? Or you can talk about durability, like things like the triple stitch. Where can you put that in a jacket? Where can you put that in other garments to reinforce that and bring this idea of durability to other things? We want to take that same modularity, like that back buckle, into this. There's lots to learn that isn't just mimicry. So this is like one of the most important like secondhand finds I found. And this is the M42-1A flight jacket. And that was like a really interesting bomber jacket because it was flown only in the Pacific by American troops in Japan and in Korea. I found that when they were flying over that area of the world in that season, it was just too hot. So the conventional things about bomber jackets, like the insulation, all had to go away. Like really lightweight, unlined, super thin, like super thin. It's short compared to most military jackets because it makes it really comfortable to sit down in a cockpit. Gussets at the back. This stuff opens up and gives you more room because you're always extending your arms to fly a plane. Functional things, like there's a diamond patch in the elbow as well. It gives you an extra layer of fabric so that you don't wear out your elbows in a cockpit because you're always in this position. Such a good example of design working and such a good example of design looking nice as well. We had come across some brushed cotton twill fabric. So that began this long process of trying to find an example so that we could actually learn off of this. So again, eBay, a significant purchase, but that opened up an avenue for us to use the cotton twill fabric. And it looks familiar because I'm wearing it now. This is our version of the M42-1A, which is what we call a pilot jacket. Brought a lot of the same vocabulary across, like diamond patches over the elbow, the short length of it all, as well as we've kind of deepened the gusset at the back, the action back. So ours is a lot deeper, gives you a lot more range of motion. As a designer, or someone who calls himself a designer, like this was super important for me to understand function, history, and it was one of the first few times where it all like connected for me, like super interesting super important design for me, I think. So that's the stuff that we have in our studio, stuff that I found from eBay. But you can go out to vintage shops, you can go to secondhand shops, anywhere, and try and learn stuff, try to pick up some inspiration. So we're going to Lost and Found, which is a store in our neighborhood in Fitzroy, and we'll try and figure out what we can find. Every section is curated by someone new. So I want to check out where the workwear and the denim is. This will seem like kind of like an innovative design. And it's got this, see how the seam isn't at the side, but it kind of twists around. That's what they call Levi's engineered jean, which is kind of a innovation at the time. But, you know, things in fashion come around pretty quick. And now this is seen as a classic design that is being reinterpreted. So you'll see like La Mer, you'll see a lot of different like, you know, really classic city brands have their take on what is basically a Y2K innovation. It's such an interesting detail as well because denim's hard to innovate on. There's so many guardrails on what is classic denim. So to have something that's a little bit different is like super interesting. So I feel like, you know, everyone's trying to figure out their own silhouette for denim. And, you know, you can have a straight pair of pants just like this, like, you know, basic 501, 505 idea. But when you turn it around, it really, you can create like a very similar shape, but just by changing the seam, like just by changing it, like, you know, that Virgil Abloh 3%, it becomes really exciting. So I think moving forward, that's like a few things that we'll try as well. Like we'll try twisting the seam as well. We'll try different fabrics, like not only cotton, but maybe cotton silk, cotton wool, cotton linen. We'll try different dye effects. We'll try different washes. Like just that the change, something a little bit can really invigorate the design. So design is iterative. You're not designing something completely from scratch. You're always adapting existing designs and existing ideas and then changing it to what we need for now, what we need for 2025. So I'm not afraid to steal, like I steal all the time, but you have to be clever about how you steal, right? Don't steal everything wholesale. Just honor your idea. Like, what do I need to support this idea? Maybe it's fabric from here, maybe it's a silhouette from there, maybe it's a wash effect. Don't be afraid to grab stuff from any genre, any era of menswear ever, just as long as it helps you keep your idea afloat.